It's Antonio Brown without his uniform, we are told, without his jersey.
One of the greatest receivers football ever saw walked off mid-game, threw his pads in the stands, and jogged off shirtless. As wild as that looked, it was not the bottom. The real fall was still coming, and it ended with a warrant for attempted murder from Liberty City to the top. Before the headlines and the handcuffs, Antonio Brown was just a kid from Miami trying to make it out. He came up in Liberty City, a neighborhood he has always described as rough, full of gun violence and full of distractions that swallowed a lot of his friends. His parents split when he was around 10, and home got even harder after his mother remarried, because Brown and his brothers were forever getting in the middle of the fights between their mom and their stepfather. His little brother Desmond still remembers him waking up from nightmares saying he saw ghosts, like the boy sensed trouble before it ever showed up. By his senior year of high school, the whole thing came apart, and his mother put him out of the house, so he spent about 6 months with nowhere steady to lay his head. He slept in cars, in cheap motels, and on teammates' couches, and through all of it he kept chasing football because it was the one thing that felt like a way up. His road into college was just as messy, since his grades shut the door at Florida State, and he got tossed from Florida International before he ever played a single down. He finally landed at Central Michigan as a walk-on with almost nothing handed to him, and one of his coaches later put it plain, saying he showed up with a one-way bus ticket and about 3 weeks to earn a scholarship, or he was going to be out of luck. He took that pressure and ran with it. Brown turned himself into a star and an All-American in just a few years, leading his conference in catches and lighting up return teams, and he did it while still carrying everything he came from. When he jumped early to the NFL, the doubt followed him right out the gate. Pittsburgh waited until the 6th round, the 195th pick, to take a chance on him, and he never forgot it. He chose jersey number 84 on purpose, explaining it like this: 8 times 4 is 32. 32 teams looked past me, even the Steelers. That chip on his shoulder turned into one of the best runs the game has ever seen. He started out buried on the depth chart and grinding on special teams, but it did not take long for him to force his way into the lineup and never give the spot back. Brown stacked up 6 straight seasons with 100 catches and 1,000 yards, made the Pro Bowl over and over, and eventually signed a $68 million extension that made him one of the highest paid receivers alive. For a real moment there, the same kid who used to sleep in cars was sitting on top of the football world, riding around in cars he once could only dream about, and it looked like the story was only going one way, when it all started slipping. The problem is, the higher he climbed, the harder the wheels came off. After years of carrying Pittsburgh, the locker room got tense. The friction with his quarterback started showing up in public, and Brown pushed his way out of town and got traded to the Oakland Raiders in 2019. That fresh start went sideways almost right away. He showed up with frostbite on his feet from a cryotherapy session gone wrong, then got into a long, ugly fight with the team over a helmet he refused to give up, even threatening to walk away from the game over it. When the fines started piling on, he blew up at general manager Mike Mayock so bad that teammates had to hold him back. Not long after, Mayock stood at the podium and basically told the world the marriage was over.
So from our perspective, it's time for him to be all in or all out.
Days later, Brown forced his release and walked away from real guaranteed money, then signed with the New England Patriots on that very same day. That stop barely lasted. He played 1 game and was cut once. A former trainer named Brittany Taylor came forward with a civil lawsuit accusing him of assault, claims Brown has always denied. Just like that, one of the best receivers in the league had burned through 3 teams in a matter of months. He got one more real shot in Tampa Bay, reuniting with Tom Brady, and for a minute it actually worked, since he helped the Buccaneers win a Super Bowl. The talent was clearly still there when his head was right, which is exactly what made the next part so hard to watch. The next season, everything that had been bubbling under the surface finally boiled all the way over. In a January game against the Jets, with the team losing and Brown frustrated, he did something nobody watching could believe. He ripped off his jersey and his pads right there on the field, threw his gear into the stands, threw up a peace sign, and jogged off shirtless while the game was still going. Even the announcers in the booth had no words for it.
And I've never seen anything like this in an NFL game.
Head coach Bruce Arians kept it short after the game, telling reporters Antonio Brown was no longer a Buck, and that walk-off basically ended his career in the league. Off the field, the trouble kept stacking up too, from a no-contest plea in a moving truck case that got him suspended, to a string of fines, lawsuits, and social media rants that never seemed to slow down. The lawsuit from his former trainer eventually got settled out of court, but by then, the damage to his name was already done. The man who once felt unstoppable was now mostly known for falling apart in public, and as bad as all of that was, the worst was still ahead. The darkest turn. The bottom finally dropped out in 2025. On the night of May 16th, outside a celebrity boxing event in Miami, Brown got into a fistfight in a parking lot. According to police, after the scuffle, he grabbed a handgun from a security worker and fired 2 shots at the other man, with 1 round said to graze the victim's neck. Investigators say they recovered spent shell casings and an empty gun holster at the scene, and a gunfire alert system picked up the shots in the early morning hours. Brown was let go that first night after telling officers he was the one who got jumped over his jewelry, but the investigation kept moving. By that June, prosecutors put out a warrant charging him with second-degree attempted murder with a firearm, a charge that could carry up to 15 years behind bars. Instead of facing it, Brown left the country and went to Dubai, where he posted videos that police back home read as taunting. It did not last. That November, U.S. Marshals arrested him in Dubai and flew him back to the States, where he waived extradition and landed right back in Miami to answer for the case. He pleaded not guilty, was released on a $25,000 bond, and put on house arrest with a monitor while he fights the charge. Brown has stayed firm that he did nothing wrong, calling it a battle for his innocence, while police have made it clear they plan to see the case all the way through. So that is the part everybody keeps asking, which is how a man who beat homelessness and the draft and everything else ended up here. A lot of people point to his head. Brown took a brutal amount of hits over his career, and the most famous one came when a defender drilled him helmet to helmet in a playoff game, leaving him knocked out cold on the turf.
As he got hit, you can see the body go limp, and he was already unconscious.
That kind of damage over many years is exactly what doctors link to CTE, the brain disease tied to repeated head trauma that can only be confirmed after a person dies. We have seen this pattern before, since former players like Vincent Jackson and Phillip Adams were diagnosed with CTE after their early deaths, which is why so many people watch Brown and feel that same fear. Through all of it, Brown keeps pushing back on the idea that anything is wrong with him.
There's something wrong with his mental health.
He has even said the Buccaneers offered him $200,000 to step away for treatment, which he turned down. And maybe that is the most heartbreaking part of all, because whether it is the brain, the childhood, the fame, or all of it mixed together, the man who fought so hard to be seen is now watching the world see him fall, and nobody seems able to stop it. What do you think is the main issue here? Let me know in the comments section. Click on one of the cards on your screen to see more videos like this. See you in the next one.